All right, so today we are going to do an articulation test. That's right, we're going to jack up the opposing corners of this Fuso, and we're going to see just how much wheel travel do we get with the current weight that's in there. And really what this is for is somewhat to actually see just how much does the cab rotate relative to the camper. So I've got a few things I got to do that. I'm not just going to jack up the corners. I got to take out some jack stands. I've got to clean up the front wall of the camper, tape it out so I can and mark it so I can see what the actual difference is going to be between before it moves and when after it moves, so that way I can properly design my pass-through frame and seals to make sure they seal and they aren't also limiting that movement or getting broken when there is extreme articulation. So that way the cab and the rest of the chassis can rotate freely from each other, between the camper and the cab. They can rotate freely and move around, and yet at the same time not get in the way or break something, but also have the seals stay true and stay sealed in any of those articulations. I'm going to do that test today so I can see where that's at, and so I'm going to walk through how I'm going to do this. If you remember a while back when I picked up my EarthCruiser, I did go ahead and take it out for a little test drive on a trail in Bend and did do a little bit of flexing of the chassis, but not enough to really flex it. And this would be the proper way to really test out the articulation of this vehicle is on a really undulating trail or so over some big boulders. But being that the trails are all covered in mud and snow at the moment, just wasn't a good time, and also with the camper being under construction. So I'll have to do that at a future date, but for now, we're going to articulate it inside the garage as best as possible with the jacks that I have. All right, so the camper's built, the rear wall's on. What I've had done for the last 2 weeks while the rear wall's been drying up, and I say drying up, it really cures for the most part to pretty good strength, call it a third of its strength within a few days, and half its strength within about 5 days, and really full strength within, call it somewhere within about 10 days. So I've had it drying now for 2 weeks, so I know it's plenty dry and cured and strong. But nonetheless, I just wanted to make sure it's dried well and everything. And what I've done. All right, so the first thing we got to do is remove these jack stands that are in here. And this one's already pretty easy to move because there really wasn't a lot of force in there. That one I just removed was really just adding a little bit of extra support for this lower rear floor here, this section here, and this lower rear wall here, while basically all the glue and stuff was drying up, just to make sure there wasn't any movement or anything like that. So we do this articulation test so I can really see just how much articulation and rotation there is and how much rotation there is between the camper box and the cabin, or the cab and the camper box, to see what the difference is in the rotation between the two, so I know how to design my pass-through frame and seals. In order to measure the difference between the cab and camper as I jack up the opposing wheels, I got to clean up this front wall so that I can go ahead and put some marks on there and measure the difference between the two as they move separately as I jack them up. So here we go. Let's get going. Yeah, certainly one of the real advantages of a cab over or a tilt cab or a forward cab is that you have this amazing access to the engine right here. I mean, talk about everything's immediately accessible. And if I need to, I just stand up on the tires here and certainly could do some work or check fluids or things like that. So it definitely has a real advantage in that regard. The other advantage is obviously I can access the pass-through right here and do work on it, improve the seal, change the seal, things like that, cut it in. Unlike in a truck that doesn't have a tilt cab, obviously that would be pretty much. All right, so here's my little ingenious way to see just how much the cab and cabin move separate of each other during an articulation. Okay, so here's my trick. Take a dry erase pen. So I've got a dry erase marker, a different color in every corner, pressed up against the board, the camper, front of the camper, and now I'm going to articulate it. And so as I articulate it, I'm going to see how much these pens move in each corner, so that'll tell me, do I need to accommodate for, a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch in this direction or that direction. So now let's get this thing jacked up and let's try it out. Okay, going up. Jack looks stable. Ouch, this thing cut you on the back of the hand. God, this handle really sucks. That's a 6,000-pound jack. There he goes. Okay. Passenger side cranked up. This edge of the front bumper is 29.5. Here we're at 30. That tire's off the ground by about 3.5 inches. This rear bumper, right at bottom of it, are about 45 inches from the ground, and here we're at about just under 42 inches from the ground. So let's go jack up this front corner so we get our opposite corners. Oh, and let's see what we get. So I'm definitely staying out of the way. And I don't know if you noticed, but I also put some safety glasses on just in case something pops, like one of these jacks pops or breaks or something, you know? So just from a safety point of view, jack feels good, looks stable. Rear jack looks okay. Hear a little movement. Can't tell if that's subframe or suspension. The suspension here really hasn't been exercised. Okay, that's enough. Let's go take some measures. Let's see where we're at here in this corner. About 32.5 inches off the ground, the front corner, front driver's side. Passenger side, just over 31 inches off the ground. Let's check this rear corner again. We were at 45. We're now down to about 44.25. This rear corner here, we're still about the same. I believe that's about the same. Just under 42. And so you can see that tire's off the ground about 4 to 5 inches, 4 inches maybe. Yeah, a little less. Call it about 3 inches, about the same as the rear tire. And let's go look at our subframe. You definitely got maybe a little movement, but not much. Everything's okay with our camper, subframe. Really, subframe hasn't moved much, but there's not much weight on it. Oh, but look at that marker. Wow. That's moved about more than half an inch there. Same up there. All right, we're going to go try to measure these as well as we can with a ladder from the side. Don't be stepping up. Yep, same there. Wow, that's moved quite a bit. I think I've got about an inch of movement here in at least that one direction. All right, let's get these measured. See. Okay, that's less than an inch. Yeah, it's about 3/4 of an inch. Okay, it's about what I thought. All right, let's go up here. Take a look at this one. Exactly, but it's an inch to an inch and a quarter. That's on passenger side top. Let's go try the other side here. That's right about an inch. So we're going to call that lower one about an inch. Probably about the same in the other one. 3/4 to a full inch. And this upper one, I would say, has moved the most because it was really in that center of that black circle. So about an inch and a quarter. So it looks like the tops have moved an inch and a quarter. And the bottom's about an inch. Okay. I am now going to go ahead and lower this bad boy back down carefully. Still lowering. we got it loosen out. Okay, that's good. Okay, we're going to take this to the back corner in case we need it back there. All right, tires just getting on the ground. Whew. Okay, let's go take some more measurements. You look at my Richter scale markers slash pass-through movement markers. So we can go take those off, fold the cab forward, and then truly measure exactly what the movement is. Okay, this front corner, driver's side, about 30¼ inches, maybe 30½, for about I think where it was before. This side, 30¼ seems to be a tad lower, interesting enough. Tires all the way down, jacks out. Passenger side rear corner, about 40 and maybe 5/8. Driver's side, let's see if we can fold this cab forward and measure our markers. This lower moved about 3/4 inch, and this upper about 1¼ inch, more or less the same I saw over there too. Okay, this lower one, same thing. It's moved about 3/4 inch. And this upper one, again, about 1¼ inch. Whew, maybe as much as 1.5 inches, which means I need to provide for about 1.5 inches in each direction, because I only really articulate one direction. So that means this marker went from here with that twist, but it's likely going to go the same out in this direction with the opposite twist. Right? Seems to make sense. That line going that direction, that line that direction. It looks like my logic was right, that just tilting up the front corner makes this marker continue to move in the same line going across. Jacking up a little more. And marker continues to go in the same direction, about the same distance. Okay, lowering. Jack is out. All right, marker's back in its place. So this test showed me that there was about a 2-to-1 ratio between the tire movement to the cab to camper movement. So if I think there's going to be between 6 to 12 inches of wheel travel, I need about as much as 6 inches of movement across the pass-through. It's quite a bit. So I got to get to designing these pass-throughs. So that'll be coming up soon, is starting of building that out. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe. Thanks.